Salibonani Magadi. How are you? My name is Delimitation, a young development practitioner. Hello, colleagues.
Yeah. Fellow Zimbabweans, I'm Comrade Jawanda Shanya, the national spokesperson in Boys Damdara. Hello, guys.
Fellow Zimbabweans, my name is Charmaine Rupafato Mineti, a student at University of Zimbabwe. How are you guys?
Hi, Charmaine.
Alright, Mangwanani. My name is Fortune Tanatsko Maruta, a student activist at the University of Zimbabwe. We are just Zimbabwean youths who are here to discuss and share our opinions on the Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3.
Why not have senators who qualify based on skill and not increase the burden on the already huge Senate?
This treaty is actually, to me, from my angle, it's relevant that senators must be selected based on skill and their expertise rather than increasing the number of senators. Already have 80 senators, and increasing them by a number of 10 to 90 is not useful to the Zimbabwean population at large. So basically, fellow comrades, we cannot say that the clause in the Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3 that proposes that the president must increase the number of senators from the number that we already have. I think it's not necessary, because of what benefit are we getting from the senators that are already there currently in the that are sitting in the Senate? So why not just employ these senators based on their skill, based on their expertise, and based on their knowledge, rather than increasing number of old people who just sit in the Senate, drink water, take the benefits away, and then go back to their home at the end of the day without any development, without anything beneficial to the citizens of Zimbabwe.
I think this additional of 10 seats at the Senate by the president is an opportunity for young people, people with disabilities, technocrats, who may not be able to have resources for traditional campaigns. So it will help, especially for youths. You may not have the money to campaign. So I think it's helpful.
Yes, I'm in support of the clause allows president to appointing senators, because we see inclusion, like what you said. So I'm in support of it.
So it's quite interesting, the perspective that has come out. For me, it's not necessarily an issue of addition, but institutional integrity and the mechanism that currently exists within the Constitution and what it proposes. So the moving assumption is that already the political institutions, they appoint the best people possible, either by bereka mwana or either by primary votes, and evidently then they go to Senate. So is it now an issue to understand that from the political fabric there's been a failure to appoint relevant people, so that we now need the extension of 10. So what does it do from this? The possible benefits maybe it's for more technocrats, because these are people coming with expert knowledge, not necessarily coming through the proportional representation. And within the Senate, unfortunately, as young people, we don't have a seat, because you have to be fought and upwards, and our Constitution does not take that. But the other problem that may emerge is the excessive involvement of the executive. These are 10 people that are coming from the authority of the government, the sitting president. Already no government will reform itself out of power, and you never act outside of the appointing authority. So it's for the young people, for us now, just for food for thought. What is the strategic benefit of doing this? If we don't do this, what is the strategic consequence of what happens from that?
Interesting.
Constitution establishes ZHRC as an independent body, specifically to manage elections without executive interference. The Registrar General's office, however, is part of the executive branch.
Alright, you would then get to see that this is clause number 2 and clause number 17 in the Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3, and it seeks to remove an independent body, an independent electoral body, and invest those powers in the Registrar General's office. The Registrar General is an appointee of the president. And by removing powers from an independent board and investing them in an individual's office is not only a threat to democracy, but it's a threat to the electoral system of Zimbabwe. It's a threat to the voters of Zimbabwe. Because why should we have an appointed person by a person in authority to run over or to take over the affairs of the elections of this country? You will see that this clause at the end of the day does not make sense. For what benefit does it have to the youth? Already, if we are to be fair and to be honest of how elections were being conducted in the past years, it's already questionable. And then that same process again, you want to take it into an office as a person who is appointed by the president. How do you expect that person to operate? How do you expect them to actually conduct a fair process when their hands are tied? So at the end of the day, we will see that this is not only a threat to democracy, but a threat to every Zimbabwean citizen.
So, for me, this is not a new phenomenon. Before the 2013 new constitution, we used to have our voters' roll being managed by the Registrar General. And after the agreed or the socially negotiated constitution of 2013, did we see ZHRC being adopted as a new and independent body. So it's not necessarily an issue of the electoral mandate, the elections mandate being taken away from ZHRC. It is the delimitation. It is actually the voters' roll going back to the registrar. They still manage elections, but where do we see maybe problems emanating from? We are saying the Registrar General is appointed again by the executive. So already there is, because of our political context, historical context of having contested sometimes elections that have been punctuated by violence, there's that fear from people to say, what necessitates it right now? What has gone wrong for us to say we now need to have the registrar coming on board and assuming the very same role? What is wrong? I think we would need to hear the proponents offering in terms of this is the strategic reasons why you want to do A, B, C, D. But it's not all poison, it's not all bad. There are possible benefits that may arise. There's already the efficacy because the Registrar General already manages your own information from birth certificate, passport issuance, license, and things like that. But the biggest problem has been strong independent institutions. No matter who is sitting in that, no matter who is appointing, are these institutions independent, strong, and transparent enough to do that? How they manage the voters' roll? Who have access to the voters' roll before someone? Who can manage the ghost voters? Things like prudence, transparency, and accountability as we start to do these things are the main questions that I'm thinking about. Not to be worried to say who is doing this, but to say are the institutions prepared enough to withstand pressure and manipulation from actors with interested values and interested objectives in this.
All right, so I'm in support of this clause. Why? Because we see with the Registrar General is the one an information from birth, Gurarama, and it in death. And so it's better with the Registrar General or various Rorende Koko Registrar General on it because no information you understand?
But we are risking the voters
because we have seen it
here, comrades.
We have seen some opposition party and it but it's ZHRC correct. So
Yes,
it's better now.
Agree.
It's better
I
now
think
to
it will help us.
voters rotudzo
It will help us.
and
from
side
that
tanganyanya
figures.
kuti
So now let's remove
is
it.
corrupt.
The Registrar General is the one anoziva kuti munhu afa handiti. So akutobviswa akatoita izvozvo. So people have been complaining parikuvhota nevanhu vakafa. So now I think it's the best.
But is that guaranteed though? It's not guaranteed. That because what you are simply saying here is the same thing. Whether the voters' roll has been removed from the powers of ZHRC to the registrar's office, right? How are we certain that the voters' roll will not be manipulated by the same Registrar General who always be in support of his appointment?
I think
President
we are
is
not
one.
saying the same thing. Yeah, I'm saying I do trust the ZHRC, whatever that it does. But now I'm saying, because people have been complaining, right? I think now it's better also.
But can we govern a country by public opinions?
In short, now you guys, are you trying to say that?
No.
Okay, you're saying.
Because we want to understand, number one, the assumption to say the Registrar General and the institution that is the custodian of all this public information is above board. And maybe it has been reformed for it to have capacity to be able to do this. Secondly, are we saying ZEC is now degenerated and deplorable to an extent that we now need to take off some limbs and some functions and appoint it to the Registrar General?
Why is she that? Why is she that? Because
so now
we've seen good you say ZEC is corrupt.
Yes, it is.
and now it's a problem. The Registrar General is not doing the same thing.
So if
there is no benefit of us jumping from the thorns and getting into fire.
So what are you saying ZEC is supposed to do? We need to understand.
No, we are focusing on the clause in the constitutional
Yes.
number 3.
So
That is saying that the voters' role is being removed from the powers of ZEC and being invested into the powers of the Registrar General's office. Which you understand? The Registrar General is appointed by who? By the President. You understand? So the Registrar General is not going to act against the President. Do you concur with me that the Registrar General is in no way going to go against the President? So how are we guaranteed, how sure are we that the voters' role in the hands of the Registrar General will not be manipulated?
okay.
And how maybe just to have a sense of, especially the proponents, how do you envision what's the mechanism of making sure that the Registrar General remains above board, independent, and be able to execute that? Where's the separation of power?
What I'm going to say is for us to go to another tweet, I would say you talked about like with the president, the Registrar General. And I would say you trust the president because president doesn't mean president doesn't that crossword. So how can you be in a country you don't trust your own government? So it's going to be a problem.
We are not supposed to
Well, we are just 4 of us, I'm sure the
No,
other
I'm saying
broadly.
you said President Dovaja so how can we be sure what is really transparent?
Plus,
And then
the other thing.
we'll then go back to another question, maybe that is going to divert us from this conversation, because I not trusting the president. As you have said, you guys were trying to say you guys are against ZEC because you said ZEC is corrupt. So from that idea that we say no, ZEC has been rigging elections, you cannot expect me to trust the person who was actually appointed.
This is the core point of this.
By ZEC.
This is what you said. Thank you so much. This is the main reason of this bill. Of which Riga. Anyways, guys, let's move to the second tweet, to the third tweet. Should Zimbabwe create a new electoral delimitation commission to draw constituent boundaries? No, Zimbabwe does not need a new electoral delimitation commission. What we need is a genuinely independent and trusted Zimbabwe Electoral Commission that continues to handle delimitation as part of its core mandate.
Yeah, it makes sense, and I don't think there is anything wrong with this comment. It's just reinforcing to what we've been saying, that there is no need for us to create many commissions. We say a delimitation commission and be separated from ZEC. What we just need is a strong, transparent, accountable, independent electoral commission in Zimbabwe that works for and by the people. I think what the youth here or the person said here is actually true, and I agree. I have no problem with what they said here.
So as she read the question, I had some bells ringing in my head. The first question is, who's going to appoint the proposed new commission? That's number one. Number two, what are the viable conflict resolution mechanisms Then thirdly, how have we arrived here? So it's given across the board, flat out, that the should be 2022 ZEC report, the delimitation report, was critiqued across the board. But the question now is, at a national level, with ZEC having managed only 2 elections, do we discard its function because it was undercapacitated to deliver in 2023? That's number one. Number two, how often do we do elections and how often should we do delimitation based on the census currently, the current model? I still remember that a lot of resources were channeled towards the delimitation process, only for us to discard it halfway. So again, to have a balanced perspective, what I fear, I'll start with what I fear, is that we're going to have the executive again doing everything possible for them to have conditions that favor them, issues of gerrymandering. Again, who appoint? Remember my first question, who are appointing these people? What are their interests and who will fund it? Because already our budget decides to be bloated, cannot fund these chapter 12 commissions, but already we want to add another commission. That's number one. But also, it could help ZEC just to streamline in terms of administering the elections and making sure that, remember the 2023 elections, people were there, the ballot box was there, but the ballot itself was not there. And ZEC said it was overwhelmed. This could be another caveat of what we could see ZEC looking at. But it's food for thought again to the proponents and to the opposers to say, who appoint? What's the spirit of this? What has necessitated this? And what are the available conflict resolution mechanisms? Because this seems like a reaction to the conflict that arose when people saying these boundaries had not been done properly. Again, the Delimitation Commission, is it going to look at only administrative boundaries, electoral boundaries, commercial boundaries? Remember, there was also a conversation of special economic zones having been to gerrymander so that they may not fall within another certain constituents or the other. So to me, another big question is, this is a reaction to a conflict that happened in 2023. Can we remedy that? And do we have the absorptive capacity to make sure that the new proposed commission, Delimitation Commission, can serve to the best of its ability? So it's neither here nor there, but more importantly, do we have strong institutions? Do we have the right people, the right mindset, and the right virtues and values for whoever that is in that office to lead?
Yeah, very interesting. And I would like to add that you see the fact that all these things that we are discussing here and all these things that you are saying are still veiled in obscurity and in confusion shows you that we are not going anywhere with this proposed Delimitation Commission, because at the end of the day, it must answer to the questions of the people. It must answer to questions of accountability. It must answer to questions of transparency, because what has been a problem is the issue of transparency, right? Are these administrative boundaries fair? Are they correct? You understand? We have the case of UMP, whereby you then see many or close to millions of people. We have to be honest. You see millions of close to million of people being said that they are available there at Uzumba Maramba. You understand? But we know what is on the ground. We understand what is at the side. So we are saying no, it's still very obscurity. Why is it all very obscurity?
Experts. Electoral Commission, experts. I some fair maps.
Then the question comes, who is going to elect?
Nay boys, my experts are to go near the Ganongo, my some Zeki. My experts are going to go.
Like what?
Already got a Zeki, voters row.
And I'm going to give me now election. Zeki no da
election.
And it all as I
Zeki guys, Zeki I want you. Zeki muto iba pressure. Chimbopa yo ngitanda bambuiti. No, we can't have an election every time. She had 2 years.
But you know,
now it's not even 2 years. 3 years nachingoti dakariko. Udakariko. Ndatoshka bakukora kubva ku creation nachingori kwa hewa.
So
gazimomira izvo.
Gazimomira aziti.
So
it's high time.
You know what I like?
Tatira zvinenge zvichikunetsa
tambira
no, so we don't but when I
If this amendment is for the people, then you guys shouldn't be fearing the referendum at the end of the day.
Referendum is what you say.
No.
just wait before we start.
Yeah,
Before we start
Why
getting
Why should we
lost.
go there?
It's for the people.
Why?
Madam-
Why should
Like
we
what
go
you have
there?
said, zvido zvavazviri kutaura. No. Kutaura kuti ngati mumire kuti tichanzi tinoita kureferendum kana zvaita sei. Just answer the question. It's for the people. So
No guys, takusanganisa ma-issues.
Alright.
Tatojamba tabata nyaya nhatu panapa.
Inangoti, guys, always panoitwa ma-elections, guys. Panokuita ma-issues. And it's always Zek.
But we must appreciate that's the political nature of power. At the end of the day, even panapa, hatina kana ngatinzwe, even patiri panapa, hatina kana munhu ari kuzopedza achipinda pachigaro, asi hatisikuirana satisikurwa, asi hatisikuita sekuwirirana, muono uri kusiyana. Saka tiri kuti sekunzwanana kwatiri kuita panapa ipapapa, coexistence. Handiti todzoka ukuku, this delimitation commission irida kuenda iyi mimi sevanhu vanoda kuitira nyika zvakanaka, ndipowo zvitatu zvairi kusvika ichigadzirisa zvatinobvumirana panapa kuti aiwa kune vari kutsigira
apa paichingori nyangoti zvimwe zviri zvomaibata kuti tizeki
katizvitaurei
people complaining tori one center point atinoona pachitaure kurika zvinonobata kwese ikoko kwata madelimitation zvinonobata kwese ikokoko now ndozvatiri kutaura to solve all this toti wopatoenda paelection romerapo timboonoo kuti zeki inoramba here ngori panyanga pekonzeki unogona kuona kunge zvisingakanganisi uchiti ndo political what nature. No, that's not it. All those things do not affect.
Asi matize
no, ndikuzama kukuudza kuti the only point is one. The only point. Zeki ndinokonzeresa kuti pachenda ma-elections.
Samoti toiparadzai.
Ndo zvandiri kuti takungoibvisirira mamwe masimba ekuita zvinhu. Because you said, ndo political zvinga. Ndo zvandiri kuti it's not good for us. All those talks, it's not good for us.
Nai muzvare. Basa what is the delimitation process today?
Handiti mupa munobatanidza zvineri. Moshora watombodera example inini.
Ayo, ndiri kuti pachechi tiri kunoita delimitation, tiri kuitei?
Uri kunocheka maboundaries.
Handiti, samuri kuti zeki yakoniwa kucheka maboundary kana kugova zviri pachena.
Kuda ma-experts anongomira izvozvo, anongozoti ndakapindira basa kuswera ndichita izvozvo.
But it's a department function, it's not a commission. That has to be a department.
Isusu tiri kuti zeki angoramba kuti zeki achida kuti ipiwe mabasa. Because next time unoramba
samudadzekisa reni basa rei
iite zvayo zvema-elections ekufokasa neizvozvo chete. Zvatoda kuti iti toda kuavoida those unogona nge patinopedza ma-election zvitori bo zvingori normal kuti vanhu vangoramba vachinoitana. It's not good for us. It's not at all. It pains us. It's not good for this country.
My fear is that now we have millions of young people that also see representation in what we say, and tisikuda kuti tiwanyepere. Ndiri kuwirirana.
Millions. According to
Zimstats, we are 63.7 of the total population. Aiwa, handati tine vari kunzwa pfungwa dzatiri kupa. Muri kunzwa asi hamusi kundinzwisisa. Ndati vari kunzwa pfungwa dzatiri kupa. Pane pamataura mukati basa rezeki nderekugadzisa kurwisana. Aiwa, iroro yai basa reNational Peace and Reconciliation Commission. Ibasa reZimbabwe Human Rights Commission. Ekuti zeki inoti aiwa taita basa rediri rekusarudza mutungamiri asi pabuda zvidzamirwa zvinoti nezvinoti
ndizvo zvamataura but imimi manje hamuzoatake peace munoataka zeki. You say kuti the opposition parties
but pazvinotangira no I think from an objective point of view this is not an activity, it's a process. It starts from the availability of the voters roll. There's always a question ekuti ranonoka kubuda, who is managing it, why is ZHRC not publishing? That's number one. At some point setaka receive my message econet ndini ndinonzi ningi ndiri kuda kupindawo pa utungamiri miraneni asi vamwe vaisadaro pamwe munoshandisa network hatizozivi. Anyways, I think from our let's go.
Okay, Cap 3.
But
Cap 3 does not abolish the principle of one man, one vote. It's some apostle claiming.
I think it will be interesting to hear from you guys first about this issue of I think this is a fellow comrade who is
Yeah.
saying it does not abolish the principle of one man, one vote. I see.
Let's not mine on. Let's not major on minors. And you may get to be running. Get to be running.
Alright, it's okay. What's your take about one man, one vote? This one is claiming that CAB 3 is not abolishing the principle of one man, one vote. So in what sense is it not abolishing the principle of one man, one vote?
It is not affecting principle of one man, one vote. Because iwewe unenge wavhotera nemavhotera I think taura zvokuti taura nemaparliament vanovhotera MP vanovhotera president. So iwe unenge wavhotera MP wako and watoisa trust yako MP wako zvoenda kupi iwo MP wako ndounozovhotera kumberi unozovhotera president wako. Zvinhu zvinotibatsira one macost emapresidential campaigns mayo tomboshanda zvimizvi. Secondly, we go to the same thing. Toxicity iri muno mekuti pese patrobva mali nchota 3 years amana chingoyorwa makachipirira zvinhu zvinototikanganisa. You may not see it, maybe you enjoy it because ndonguva yamunonovhala ganda muchienda kuamerica but tosamuzoti sati kwasina america saka tiri muno mune muchotikanganisira zvinhu zvedu samwe patriotic atida kugara muno so mune muchotivhiringizira zvinhu zvedu imo unonge zviri normal but it's not. So iwewe plus kushare ma-responsibilities ekuti right now munhu akana potinoti the president so now kuzoti ini ndakatovhotera MP wangu hauchadzi president azodaiso mukatoona any post unoona munhu atoposta kuti president wako so now takushare ma-responsibility iwe autozoti munhu akatosarudza president yani MP.
Okay, and then
one vote.
it's all there.
We are in a very dangerous space where we are rallying lies and misinformation, peddling it as facts.
Yes.
I think I like the. I think first when we introduce ourselves, that we are young people lending a voice. So and that's how we just want to see the good and the possible harm that may emanate from that. So again, for me, I'm interested in the spirit of the law itself. What does it seeks to achieve? So the idea to say community development, if you want to qualify that point, it is resident with these local authorities, Zuma roads and everything is the mandate of what? Of councils. So on this one, that point, Naibude. Now, let's look at it. Zimbabwe is not, if it goes through a parliamentary process, Srilanka won't be the new country to do that. But again, what we are seeing is that there's a lack of success factors. Number one, what we see is that there's been a lot of whipping system. If the current members of parliament are not able to, remember right now, Takadai, so we don't have a youth act, all of us.
Yes.
The political parties are failing to whip one another for us, the young people speaking on this platform, to have a simple youth act. Do you think they'll be able to be strong, independent and firm enough to select the president that they want? For me, I'm just want to throw an idea, because even the elders, they listen. Why not having an open list proportional representation? Yes, I may vote for a specific political party for them to, then cascade or to translate my vote into what I want. But rather give me an option where I can still also rank people within that party to say, eventually, if you happen to assume power, this is my preferred candidate. It provides a balance. Number one, you're saying there is cohesion, there is firming the role of parliament, but also it safeguards my own interests as the electorate. That's number one. But where's the problem, or what are the advantages of us going through the parliamentary system? Probably you might be able to see the parliament focusing on one issue and being able to do that. But if the current parliament is a yardstick of that, in your eyes, are they strong and firm enough to do that? Then secondly, our very own parliament does not have the power to recall the president or the mechanism in that. If the president fails, it's a question again, how is they going to be recalled? Because if it was it is supposed to become as a full package, that details that we are taking the parliamentary system in its totality, or we are taking the presidential system in its totality. If it's a hybrid, like what we see in South Africa, it's not a truly parliamentary system, it's a hybrid. How are we going to do that? So again, for me, proponents and even opposers, these are the fundamental questions I'll be happy for you to answer.
Okay, so unazvinoitika isusu semayouth ka tinowanza tinowanza theory handiti hatinyatsotedza mukatikati handiti zvinhu zvikuitika panapa ndezvekudai taita issue yedu takataisa constituents handiti ka vanhu vari padhuze naMP zvakanyanya padhuze nemacancelors zvakanyanya nditi zvinova easy kuti iye anopushikawo for community development MP, you understand? Because when it's takavhotera iwewe handitika let's put that into practical more nezvatokutaura we are going to see change. Okay, ndicharadza kuti isusu tiri constituents people are padhuze naMP more than president handitika so if isusu we push MP kuti vazonofotisa president kumusoro.
Do we have one constituent that is a model where we can say they are doing this? Probably my indicators are that maybe they've got basic social media platform where you can see them interacting besides the Honorable Bafado from Shades.
Yeah, I know my platforms there.
If you have got those that are alive that are willing to interact with people, please share their names and I'll follow them.
My honorables are have interacted on
Please provide.
But if you go and do a research, you're going to see because it doesn't do it one of the series. But this is to one out of my constituencies are one day, and vari kuinteract nevanhu zvakanyanya so zvichitibatsira pakuti vanhu ndovanointeract naMP zvakanyanya ende vari kuinteract mabasa achitoitwa ndidika so vanhu vakava neiyo pfungwa yekuti ndiyo tichitakamuisa ndidika vanomupusha iye vachatopushika for community development. Understand?
But violence, wait, 1 man 1 vote. In the ends, 1 man 1 vote. Engage on go even by packet can indicate 1 man 1 vote. But now you go back. Issue I get you, your forefathers in what handicap. It's also we need to value stability more than toxicity. Based upon into election, tuna maizoka. I mean, unenge mnozifarira. For example, constituents kwangu ini. Lova makonisa njoo. China MPUSCC. Ndato nesisi onobura baba. Vanhu vakaburwa. Saka ndipedza mera ndibototaura. Izvi zvinhu honestly in election ra president ka anditomboitira richoitwe kuma wards kedu. Bozo vanorowa. Kuti zvekutombotamba and zvizvo azvinakidzi. Even I don't know. You are men or handizivi hangu. You like that drama, that's what you want over everything. Isusu support to avoid
say through that.
Yeah,
usatambe wene kuti each and every chapter election munongobura even nimi noti munorowa mimi munozvifarira zvokurowa.
All right, it's okay.
This is so I don't think hangu tachivadi nyaya yevabarishoita tinotora tingospeed.
We just want to focus on the issue of 1 man 1 vote. Because taking from what you guys are saying,
the
issue
and it is that
the issue of violence. I want to step in your senses, right? The issue of violence. What guarantees that the election of MPs or the election of councillors won't be violence? And only the presidency election, if it is put in the hands of the MPs, then
violence. Issue violence usual.
Violence.
What a violation number also don't gonna violence.
No, we just
violence that's not good. So it's also true. Anything that gives the peace, is also to support.
If we are to
because
if we are to give the youth what they want, then you just have to be honest about the current situation in Zimbabwe. Yes, if we are to give the youth what they want, then you have to be honest.
All
right, let's get back to this point. It is not abolishing 1 man 1 vote.
It's
what
not.
Did I say?
It's not abolishing. Mukisa my representatives. ende zvanga zvaitwa zvakatomboitwa zvinhu izvi tinongodzokera that system because zvakaitwa tried and tested
So it's
zvakaoneka kuti zvinopa chii.
So it's abolishing.
Where was it tried and tested? Yeah, I want to learn.
So it's abolishing at the end of the day.
tazopedza tozotwara tirakuita zvekufamba tiketi
Like, you
1980
you have a
zvakaitika
very good point.
1980 zvakaitika. So let's move, guys.
That is what.
If I can just learn something, then we progress. You mentioned something very important, that we want to do away with violence, intimidation. Just as a scenario, what happens if violence perpetuates even when we find ourselves in the parliamentary representation? What are we going to do? The spirit of the reason is to say, are we saying the law enforcement, the prosecuting authorities, and even our Ubundes people is degenerated to an extent that we cannot do anything about that?
Right. I think as amendment, it's an amendment. Zviri kuitwa both pane zvakaonekwa. Andika, we're learning from there. And it's not is artistic tinotoita zvinhu izvi. Takatombozviita. Chinhu chakatoonekwa kuti zvinhu izvi zviri toxic.
For me, I would just say it's food for thought. I'm neither supporting nor.
No, I think I feel like iwe uri munhu wekuti
Usafile apa.
not kufila no handisi kufila
Usafile.
wakambogara paground unorohwa munhu here
Yes.
wakamborohwa here
The way you walk there,
atirovi vanhu
no, but let's just all agree of
No, I'm
us that we are saying peace.
isu tiri kutaura marubva kuground kwationa zvichinatsoitika. You know
But
what's
what is coming
good?
from
No,
from-
what's
from
good for
above,
our
from the
politics?
sky.
Zvikanakira political party yedu zvekuti kana zvisvika zvemakambendi isusu tisei solid
Ndine
makambendi.
mubvunzo.
So you find that kuti tikutaura sevanhu vakunatsobva muground tinonatsoziva zvinenge zvichinatsoitika.
Handine mubvunzo. Uyu mubvunzo uri wakanaka. Wekuti tine vamwe vanhu vasiri kupatoita election harmonized bye. Tine vamwe vanhu vasinawo basa nekuvhotera kansela, vasina basa nekuvhotera MP, vanongoti yangu inini vote.
Why?
Nears beds, than beds. Munozondidaira ndimi. Vanoti ine handivhotere kana kansela kana MP, ndinoda hangu vhotera mutungamiri wenyika. In that scenario, we have been able to accommodate all along. Nebumbiro idzvairi nemaitiro matsvaya tingapagadzirisa sei?
Ndovana zviro zvakatori neproblem vanhu vanotsvukira president vadaiso
vasikutuka.
no ndinoda kudai ndovana vachiuti vane problem.
But this is a strong and fallacy because tikataura chiyungu.
Penza chef.
You are dominating the conversation. You are dominating the conversation. Urunduda series.
Ukuzoda ndataura.
Utorasika
I mean, in a discussion there's nothing good or bad. Ndataura ndani pe. Right, ndovana
dominating the
ndovana
conversation.
vachukuti.
I think the next question you should read.
Why?
You are sharing and dominating
Why?
the conversation. You are dominating the
No,
conversation.
ndakuti next to katira open ndataura. Ndikakusiya. So now I'm saying ndambotaura point.
You are saying people are attacking the president.
So no kana uchida kuti
By wanting to vote for a specific person, you are not
ndichida kuti
attacking.
ndidaire
This is
manje.
recorded material. We don't want to misinform or we don't want to paint each other.
Kana uchida kuti ndidaire ausati ndidaire because ndwadaira.
They don't know what the boys.
Why not me? Why not me a woman? Why not?
It's not a woman thing.
No, it is because bakukudaira disenti kudaire. Wati ndira kumumva ndati ndira kumumva wakati
We
usaumu.
want your ideas,
No,
not your gender.
no. Ndowatidi izvo ndada kutena ngati nongataure ngeyi. Ndobva ndati it's okay ndakusiya uchitaura. Ndobva ndagara nango ala nakukata. No, ndapesa point apo nemumwe rumwe. So you know what ndambokudza nyaya wati vanhu vanotoda kutodzidziswa because mukomiti maunogara mune marepresentative enyu when you have a problem ndo honorable wako ndonofanira kuona council yako ndonofanira kuona saka kana usingamuvhotere what do you expect the next thing you're going to say president vaneusinge president vanozodai so usiri kuvhota representative yako.
So again,
so now let us say nini mudo kuonesa togara nempasi tonatsokukuonesa kuti no you have the responsibility and the duty yekuvhotera kansela wako na MP wako kwete kumhaya kumusoro kopasi.
I think it's a good point, but I think also let's ground ourselves in what currently exists. If it's a constitution, if it's the separation of power, if it's practice, and it not paid the ideal, already exists separation of powers. There's what an MP can do and a president can do on their own. National policy, defense, territorial representation. And your own MP cannot come here and give executive powers on matters of security of judiciary. It's just an example. And you see, then I feel like the president, I feel like on these important matters, I want this specific candidate to do that. And unfortunately, with what is being proposed, the assumption is proportional representation. That's the assumption. And you see, if it's not that. But you're taking away my ability to be able to say, if in Mazoenda Kumberi, Pamunopeza, I still want that person to do that. Based on factors, maybe I've seen how they are coherent in terms of diplomacy, how they understand the national interest, how they are able to galvanize the nation together. That's let's say through whatever mechanism, the options is Pandiri, when I evaluate them mad, they're not offering what I want. But I'm having hope able to with our structures, I'll president we're gonna tell.
I get it, but I talk with this search in life now. It's not a good party negwara, same channels at the jambi. I think we jam. Tutengera ku words, tagarata zitrino to inside, so outside as the tambos. Tunotangira past morning, lakini sekora uri, ndipo anotangira. Kutaura nyaya dzako. Wozo kushisira musoro kunyako pamwe nogona kutongosolva na kansela che. So this is the thing is mwanifana kutongodzidza. Kutongoziva kuti ndinodai. Saka ndikutoona kuti iwe yako ukumira kwavaya vanodawo kuvhotera president chete, but now vatochinja vanononesa trust yavo na-MP tochienda zvakadaro.
People vote for one man, one vote. And any individual,
pavakairwira vakavhota sei?
Any citizen of Zimbabwe is entitled to choose a leader they want. You understand?
I think it's just our voice.
Yeah, and any citizen of Zimbabwe is entitled to choose a leader they want.
I don't understand.
I
think by that live conversation, it will be interesting to see what other young people think. And definitely we know they'll be watching this specific bonus, they'll be able maybe to engage in the conversation.
Oh yeah, the last one. She's from Jessie Majome. The ZHRC extra, speaking on proposed constitutional change. Cap 3, key points. Traditional leaders shouldn't join political parties as it risks bias, discrimination against villages, for instance, food, aid and denial, and undermines their impartial role in multi-party democracy.
So I think cohesion so for me, I think the traditional leaders play a very important role. They're a conduit of community development, community cohesion, community healing, and community, I think those three. And by the nature of politics, it separates people. The nature of politics is competition for power, it's competition for the means of production and resources. So I fail to salvage any light of a situation where my traditional leader is saying, I'm openly for this party. And yet there are matters that may arise within a community that needs their impartiality. Because already if they fall within the political parties and structures, it means they also wait for the whipping from the highest office on different matters. And some of the matters on surface, they may seem irrelevant. But what are the matters that normally our traditional leaders sit on? Land distribution, sub dues, even if they can schedule as a raping a robbery, but at community level, they deal with those issues. Who has got access to who has got the monopoly to violence are people that I think are connected to specific political parties that can buy or provide security, safety, and immunity if they happen to do something that is wrong. So for me, I would prefer a situation where they can lend their voice in parliament through the Senate. They already have the traditional chief's council that is relevant, that is still being respected. And I would want them to remain impartial, not to declare openly the political party that they want. For me, I think it would be an ideal situation. In as much we may assume that they lean towards this specific political party, it remains. Because kanataka kuma misha, it's like baba na maya. Una baba not in pawana landakazara nduna uyu. Cannot pavana vandina undofarira uyu. We believe in that ability. Them as our fathers, our mothers, our grannies, our leaders, they should be able to harmonize us. They should be actually a resort of conflict resolution. That means but to our roots as people, how do we do these things? And they should be able to galvanize community, because tese panapa nipera kwezve even vakati pamberi nesadza vakati pamberi nemaheu vakati pamberi nemanhushu chatizongoti pamberi nekuguta handifunga manzwa shona yangu handiti saka nopera kwezvo pamberi nezimbabwe handiti ka ende ndinofunga kuti vanogona kumirira zimbabwe zvavo vasina kunyatsa kutseketedza kuti ini ndinoda uyu.
And I would like to agree with you that traditional leaders are custodians of our tradition and culture. And traditional leaders are for the people. Traditional leaders should not be involved in partisan issues or should not openly participate in party politics, because at the end of the day, it will dilute their role. It will dilute the idea of having them as traditional leaders. It will dilute the idea of them being the unifiers of the people, of them being conflict managers in the grassroots of our country. So at the end of the day, if we see traditional leaders participating openly in party politics, at the end of the day, there is no resolution that a traditional leader is going to have. That the power of the traditional leader is going to be diluted, because imagine I'm coming from my own political party, MMN, and the traditional leader supports a BBB political party. At the end of the day, will I be able to listen? Will I be able to respect that traditional leader? So at the end of the day, this move of actually saying that traditional leaders should openly participate in party politics, to me, it can't. It's kunzima. You understand? We cannot have traditional leaders participating openly. They should remain neutral. We already have a chief's council, as you have said, and it's operating in that manner. It should continue like that. Even though if we have other views, you understand, with regards to the chief's council and how they are handling their matters, or some matters are being handled, at the end of the day, it mustn't give us the power to say that, or it mustn't give us the idea that these guys should openly participate in politics. At the end of the day, I think it would dilute the ideas of them being traditional leaders, of them being the custodians of our culture, of them being the custodians of our traditions, and of them being the traditional leaders that they are supposed to be.
Okay. All right. So in Yang, I support it because my traditional leaders are ndo vakatoita kuti isusu tichowane zvamunoti zvezvimweni vanobva kuti zvite zvamuri kuenjoy. This guys ndo vakatonge vari mazviri. So now vanodirei kuhandiswa ngavauye pachena munhu as much as they are central like in our community handiti ngavabude pachena. They should be transparent ozoti avawo vanofara nezvakatonofara zvo, there's no problem. Vanowandirei vanowandirei havane chekuwanda.
Well, let me give you an example, right? You are from your political party, right? And we have a president, a traditional leader, who is from the opposite side of where you're coming from. Do you understand? And let us be practical. We have a traditional leader that is opposing the ruling party. You understand? And we are saying that you are saying that they should openly participate in party politics. Understand? What's your take on that? How are you going to respect that leader if they tell you A, B, C, D, or we are going to have another issue of saying this one do opposition? Because mind you, already we have that aspect. Kumamisha, namchenda kumamisha, kumasabuku, machief edu, and it you then get to understand upande patone mamwe aspects that anambuya kumushogo, anta nyuma mbeu, nima fertilizations za ndio pati yakati. Ndio pati yakati. I know, zinizo ziriko, andidi. Anta nyuma mbeu, andidi vashinzi ndio pati yakati, ndio pati banakata hasiku na mbeu idzozo. You understand? But which is also a traditional leader in all aspects should be just be central. But I know then that's okay. So do you think that if a traditional leader openly supports opposition or openly supports the ruling party, would they be able to still conduct their roles meaningfully?
One, traditional leaders are pembeo. Secondly, ngrini zvinobva kujembisha mwa kana zvichinge zvasvika zvinhu zvezvi zvinofanira kuzogova ipapo ipapo zvotodzokera ndinginofanira kutopiwa zvinhu zvavo saka kuri kwazvikutoita kutozotudzokodza hatisitokuziva. Secondly, titorine ma-traditional leaders vanotosapoti opposition. Wakambonzwa Zimbabwe gugwa musoro, wakambonzwa chinzoita sei panotopiwa kana shefu president wakatida kuvapa kana mota kana zvanotongoenda kuti tiriko titotoziva but wakambonzwa here kuti vaitwa sei wakambonzwa here kunzi uyu abviswa aitwa sei sei.
We'll give you an example of that Masvingo chief.
All I can say is ina hangu ndinongozvinzisa pakuti vanhu ava vakavada vakarira chinhu ichi havangatende kuwandiswa nhasi nguva yacho vaitowa neinfluence still havangambotende kuwandiswa nhasi because vava pati ma-traditional leaders vanga varana mambo saka vanotongoramba vati panotongobuda pachina kuti ndiri muZANU-PF ini ndiri muCC hapana chongokubvisa ingoita zvavo zviri transparent chongoona chongoita zvakati haitinowo vatongoriko.
Is that of benefit to the people of Zimbabwe? But at the end of the day, this discussion
benefit yacho titori nayo
this three that we are discussing about should be focusing on
zvakangochinja nenyaya yechirungu kuti vava ma-traditional leaders but I'm just saying kuti izvezvi chongori nebenefit yacho saka gava enjoy.
It's kind of difficult to actually converse through.
With my
mindset, but at the end of the day, we just want to have a discussion that benefits the youth, a discussion that benefits the citizens.
Because kune mwana womuyiuti atori mwana wachief onzwa kuti baba vangu vari kunzi inini havafanira kunge vachibuda ukutovatsikira kuti baba vako haufanira kunge vachitombozikanwa kunzi muZANU-PF kana kuti muCC munhu yaanotoafektwawo kana machief acho kuti ino effect machief acho kutoda vakutozva vachiso totobuda pachena iko kuti uodza kuti musabude pachena iyo vari kutoda.
But I want to comment on pane zvambotsa zvekuti hanzi panononyimwa mbeu kumusha nekuti anenge achinzi triple C but uno zvinoitika majimwa mishaka kuti panouya mbeu yaya vanhu vacho ivavo opposition ndo vanhu vasingatoenda vachindezve ZANU-PF.
Why? Vakazotama kudaro
kuti vaya vazitanga kudaro and itori mentality yavo I think vanhu vasinganyatsofunga vasingade kushanda vanhu vanenge vasingade kushanda because vanouya mbeu inonzi uyai mutore vagari vemuvillage CCC uyai mutore mbeu murime handiti ivo havaende vega.
Comrades, it all goes back to the understanding of what CAB 3 is saying about the traditional leaders openly participating in politics. I think we are just debating and focusing on the minor issues. But I'm not disputing what he's saying. But at the end of the day, I'm saying right now, I'm trying to bring us back into our conversation, our main conversation. Maybe I'm saying, what is the CAB 3 saying against about traditional leaders openly supporting partisan politics, right? So we're saying what is different now? What is caused?
Those are number maybe ndataura hangu nechisalad ndikuzama kuti nyika yedu inoi isaizi chirungu zvazouya hazvo zvava kutaura traditional vanhu handana mambo vedu machief edu vanhu ndo vakaunza zvese zvatinazvo panapa handika so hamungavahwandisi kuti mimi right now kuti hamusina kodzero dzekubuda pachena because ndimi vanhu vari central mumacommunities edu vanhuwo vanotodawo kuparticipate mumarali vanotodawo kutoti nhasi inini ndinachi vanhuwo vanhavo saka you need to let them vairese vabude pachena ine zvitori nani manje tozomuti kwewe uri kunyima munhu mbeu iwewe bhozi muCC uzvezvapachena manje pakadai so ozretina waugona utombomudaro.
That's quite interesting. Ndinongofunga kuti because this is coming from as a constitutional position, yes, that will set a principle. We also have other offices that we expect and sometimes demand neutrality. That's all the forces. So are we extending the same yardstick kuti munhu wese ari kuita basa raari unga achingobuda pachena kuti ndinodari?
Traditional leaders ava ashingo vanhu zesevesa kumabasa wakati ma-traditional leaders ma-traditional ungangomaenzanise
aiwa ndine vanhu vese hanguri kuti bumbiro remutemo constitution zvainoita manje haitarisei nyaya yahwani
but manje ava vanhu vatonyorwa ri specific because vakatoneka mukoshero kwakavainako kakatosiyana navanhu vese
aiwa ndichiri muchisakasaka chinozvinzwika.
Well, maybe to round up and matata to share what they to this. ndikandinyatsodzoka rekutanga pacab amendment constitution amendment bill number 3 maybe hatina kumbodiscussa nyaya extension yeterm ameno kuti zvazoenda nekupa but zvazviripo.
I think mavunzo pamwe wajambwa.
Iwe extension yeterm
oningosiku
zvakanaka hata zvakanakira tokutaura zvazvakanakira zvakanaka zvazo zvakamboshatira so kuti tidiscusse izvozvo maybe tokutangura ndapo handitinga so isusu we've seen kuti pa 5-year term handiti term yaidiki. Do you agree with me?
No, I don't.
Alright, ndipedze tako zvangofanana ndida kupa example yangu inini I was SRC president handiti but term yema SRC i1 year yaudza kuti ndakakanganisika singaite inini example inga ndiri kutori president zvitonetsikana izvo zvine constituency yangu kuti pane munhu munyowani chichichi handiti ndine maprojects angu aripo ekuti munhu munyowani apo kutanga kuchimudza kuti ona ndachifanira kufamba nerodhi manje zvakutonetsa saka izvo zvinoda kuzvitorongoza futi pamusoro handiti zvangofanira kuti iwe president handiti vanenge vane zvavo zvanenge economic development ichichi zvese development yese yenyika handiti pakanzi election zvichatovamisa zvichatokanganisa development iyo same ezvakaitika kwandiri nini ndiri busy kumhanya kunzi election patone munyowani iyo term yako constitution term yako ne1 term patoisa munhu munyowani zvakatomisa development izvozvo because munhu munyowani tanga kuti mutsanangura toona ndachifunga kudai pfungwa dzake nedzangu zvakatosiyana so isusu we need long term development handiti long term development ndo yatinoda because tindaramba tingoti election no zvikukanganisa izvozvo because inini I was affected inini ende zvakatoaffecta constituency yangu yararipoli handiti because inini development yangu inoenda kuita nini students handiti zvakatomira munhu munyowani tanga tumutsanangura izvezvika patone fight.
But listen, comrade, and I just want to, before I speak of my ideas, I just want to chip into your ideas at the end of the day. First and foremost, if every leader would have that mindset, the mindset that we have, I'm pretty sure we wouldn't be having elections because andifunga kuti pana anoita term yake wototi maprojects anga apera munhu wese zvimwe zvinotosarira munzira ndochekutanga nditi then chachitu when we want to
zvizosarira munzira sei
no we want to I want to chip into your ideas chachitu we have the current president that is there right already he has ruled this country for 2 terms as the president already. That's 10 years already down the line, right? If there are developments, the so-called developments that you are saying, right? Why were they finished in?
No, if you say so-called developments,
yes.
Why it may seem like a cinema developments?
No. And now kuti so-called, and I'm just saying the development that you're saying they need to be completed. I'm not saying there are no developments that like what you're saying, because we want to bulge into what we call meaningful developments. So let me express what I want to say first before you. So in those so-called developments that you are saying, right? So what stopped him, his executive, to complete those tasks in the 10 years that he was given? Number one. Number two, if the developments are for the people, my fellow comrade, like what you're saying about the president, SRC president for Repoli had 1 year, and to explain to the next person, if those projects that you were doing were for the students, at the end of the day, the next leader that is coming should not have a problem with finishing or completing those developments. Because it's development. Listen, number one. Number two, we are saying, I want to take it from your point. Let's take it in this case. That's 5 years. And the term has ended, right? It's the ruling party that is in power, right? Let's propose, or let's say that the ruling party wins the next election, but it's no longer Emerson in power. It's another ZANU-PF fellow. Are you saying that the fact that we have transitioned from this leader to the second leader who will stop the development that was ongoing?
No, it doesn't stop the development. But
in what sense? In what sense does it make that the extension of the president with 2 years, the extension of his term, right, with 2 years, and in what sense does it make to say that we are extending the term because the president has developments to be made. Which developments
Alright, listen.
that are not completed, and why? Yes, if
the first of all, you know what, Emerson, me, I don't like that. You need to respect those constitution.
yes, it's the president, but no, I'm entitled to what I'm saying here.
No.
We are discussing. Here.
Anyways, and in issue this cap 3, president anti woman isu vanu.
So are you saying he's not
right.
supposed?
Wait, ndomiro mbopedza utawe already watondifilisa bhozi wakati Emerson saka chitombo respect.
It's okay.
Right. Inzwa unzwe manje. Uona this ringirekini cap 3. Isu vanhu zvakaita 2 almost maconference chitoiende. Chitowaudzwa kuti tiri kutora kuti muiti ivo pasi kutomboda. Ende zvekuti havasi kuda hatitombozviteedzera. Isusu tiri kutoda. Ndopaona kuti 3/4 yeZimbabwe is unfair. Because nekuwanda kwedu wakadaro ndozvatiri kuda. Saka pauri kutaura zvinhu zvako, bear in mind that he doesn't want. But isusu tiri kutoda. Ende zvekuti havasi kuda hatisi, we don't know. But isusu tiri kutoda and ndozvatiri kutoda. Ndozvatiri kutotaura. So zvekuda ukada kuremesa kwakazorwa kuti hey development ungataure mungataura mana because isusu tiri kuiona. Ende ngavapedze vision 2030 avakange vakatanga. Munhu ngavapedze project yake yakatanga. Zvekuti mumwe anozotevera oita zvimwe elections unpredictable. Pane umwe munhu pamwe asitore pachete. Isu tine maprojects edu ataifarira kuti aya aitwa ataura kuti isusu nyika yedu yakadai so zvinotiitira. Mumwe munhu anouya tombote kupachweni anoti hangu handizvifariri ozvisiya zviri panzira. So takaona zvakafanira kuti no 2030 kai munhu ngapedze zvinhu zvake chaatotanga. Ndozvatiri kutoda. Ungasvira wabvunza kuti hey development azoita chi aisha hatinei nazvo on a serious note. Chadaro ngokuudza ndechekuti isusu titakati vapindi. Zvekuti havo vanongona kuti vari kuda havasi kuda but isusu tiri kutoda.
You're telling the youth of Zimbabwe.
Yes, no, ivo ndikuti ndatokudzwa ndikufendirewo. But pawataura zvinhu zvako ka wataura but at the same time hai une zvako zvawao uchiona zvandatora wedu zvandakukudero. But zvese zvako kutaura you need to know something. Isusu tiri kuda. And mayouth tiri kutoda.
President havasi kuda.
Mayouth tiri kuda. Tiri kutovada. Vision 2030 avakatoisa. Tinototi vatoipedzise.
No, I think.
And you need to know something about us, isusu mayouth acho. Takatowanda katika munhu wanaungi vari kuside kwenyu. Do you know kuti each and every executive ine vanhu 42. 42 times each and every one tinenge ne 555 na 42. Kuzoenda kumusoro kutatu tinenge takawanda singe takatotenzana takazotaura nemawandu atakaita. Saka titori majority. Ndozvatakafunga. Chinhu zvatiri isusu toda kuti munhu apedze zvake zvaatanga. Saka ndikwamva kutaura kuti tange ivo vakatoti inini ndozvandiri kutoda haino. Isusu tisiri kuda kuti vazviite.
So for me, I think, thank you for those remarks. For me, it's just of a question of, even when we have projects, midterm projects, currently even the NDS2, it's earmarked for 5 years. Any other national development project has been earmarked for 5 years. Looking also at the regional and international practice, we okay for a moment, let's not look outwards, let's just look inwards. What I see maybe allowing us, it could be continuity like she said, there's continuity of projects, and if there are indeed development projects, they should be continued. But I also feel that at the same time, or I also think at the same time, we must have national consensus. Chakanaka chakaita sei chakanaka, regardless chiri kuitwa nani, ende vanoti vanofana kudzoka. Pane mienzaniso ndisingaenda hangu kuna mutungamiri wedu wenyika baba vedu Emerson Mnangagwa, His Excellency. Ndikafa inini podcast ini inovharwa here. Tanga ndisida ndichipa mashoko akanaka.
Zvinoenderana.
Zvinhu zvinoenda kumberi handiti.
Zvinoenderana.
Saka
kwete zvinoenda mberi zvinoenderana.
Yeah, alright. Hanzi maonero. I'm trying not to argue on that, but it's a good point. So I think what's important is let's justify. And today we want to do this. That's number one. Then number two, maybe in terms of clarity and what already is there in terms of, is it going to benefit the incumbent, the sitting president, or is it going to apply in the next election? It's a question that we might need to answer. Then thirdly, to say of the existing instruments that whoever that is going to become the the president in the near future, are they robust enough? Is they integrated that they can then can continue to deliver? I think currently we have examples of Rwanda and Uganda as nations that have adopted 7 years. I don't know if it works for them. I don't know if it works for us. But already, you said Baba Vanakuramba. That's a given. But I think it's just true. So on this one, I'm not skating around. I believe whether to continue or to not, but success factors, I was hoping to hear success factors in the sense ekuti continue the 7 years to usher this. Is it going to redraft our national development policies? Are we going to adopt a 7-year term in terms of the constitution, the mechanism to do that? For me, that would be the main consideration. How are we going to do that? Who is going to be the first recipient of that CAP 3? But I think already colleagues here have qualified which is a given. But
no. But is the term extension. Term extension to 7 years. Exactly.
So mine is not Triple C or Sanope should do this. Mine, I'm looking at the institutions that govern the development process around it. And even if it happens to do that, how can it be done in a safe, sound manner that does not separate people but rather bring people together?
You can't face the show. I face the show.
All right. Let's talk about the idea of a referendum.
I'm not very sure answer that because it was not part of this.
No, but we are just discussing issues around CAP 3.
No.
In general. Even the extension, the issue of extension was not even part of this, but we're just saying all are issues to do with CAP 3. So we are just asking, what's your view? If you are going to say it, if you are going to say no, I don't think you should go for a referendum.
Referendum, I don't better say.
No, those one that I need the answer. I asked the question. What do you think about this CAP 3 going to the people for a referendum? Why should we skip the referendum? There is a constitution amendment. We want to amend the constitution. We want to change the constitution.
Okay, so
the constitution, the 2013 constitution was enacted by the people for the people. You understand? Yeah, which means to say that anything that is just to do with altering the constitution, right? It means we have to go back to the people. But the people say that is the reason why the parliament was conducting public hearings.
Public hearings.
So we want to understand
results in public hearings.
Should
results in public hearings. There's only for referendum because results in public hearings. 100%. People in support of bill number 3. No striker no go squad game. So why don't you know Baba fully them 7 year term was striker no go squad game. In the results in gatherings we've seen with 100% were in support of it. So there's no need for referendum because people are in support of it. Public hearings.
Listen, the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission, the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission on its own is led by the former chairperson Jessie Majome. Actually gave a report on how the public hearings were marked by violence.
No, I always been saying that
yes, I was there. Listen.
Was it Mike information
No.
because referendum inongoitwa kana tsora ngedzatwi zveminda panapa kana zvehuman human rights number 2 referendum. So
but ndinozisa kuti kumabhiu hearing yakati ndeipi
wangu listen usatoenda kupi ndakaenda kuairport unzwisisa I was there
kusiti sports ndandiri kusiti sports city sports asinopiwa mukana ndiani kuzvisports hakuna vakapiwa mukana but ivo vacho ndo vakatoti no vanhu vari kusapota machitu support vakabuda vega vakaenda because they say kuti no majority iri kusupport. I was there.
Ndine confused. Kukaita public hearing yeku ekucity sports engelechi.
Yeah, I think ainge system there. Yeye zuro wacho ni dimangwana dini na yandu city sports. And I went to city sports.
hearings.
Engati my hearing.
Ndakuisa kuti tu.
Takaenda ku city sports tika mukati.
Apana kwenyimwa munhu mukana. Vari vakabuda voga. Vatona kuti hano hatinga crash chinhu chiri kudiwa nevanhu.
Yekupi? Ndo yeduka iyoyo atini timwarari.
Ah, you also the problem. Ukushade ku airport.
But do you testify kuti ine vanhu vakabuda vega? Do you testify kuti vanhu vakabuda vega?
I love my country. I want to respond to you.
You want to cause commotion.
I love my country.
You want
and
to cause commotion.
I am entitled to give my public opinion about the Cape 3. You understand? And
But
it then shows that my colleague here does not even understand the process. Please help me to understand.
Why don't you
That
space
all
on
those
the
Cape-
airport? Don't
listen to
worry,
me.
no fungo
Cape
pamoja
3.
But I know pane chichalanzisa chimonzisa shamwari iwe watizoni people were not given time to respond to
Yes.
No, people were given time iwe wenyasoda kuinzwa why
But
because
people-
I was there
You were there, but who was given
munhu wese
to speak?
munhu
And why
wese
were others not given the
ende
opportunity?
chakatonetsa
Evidence
chekuti
all over social
The
media.
problem is there are two social media kunaka kune vanhu vada kutaura vasirini.
Evidence is all over social media. It's not-
hapana evidence
Evidence is
Ipi?
hapana evidence yekuti makangobuda mega handiti
No.
evidence
People being
vanhu vakabuda vega vanhu vaipiwa mukana ende ona hazingatiweona handi kune mawingi zvaifamba nelaini kureso handiti pakasvika patime yenyu kuti makapiwa mukana vanhu vakataura handiti vanhu vakudarika makubuda mega makabudirei
Comrade,
I was there.
if you are to be honest, mike yakabvutwa.
yakabvutwa
Mike yakabvutwa. And izvo zvokuzviziva.
aiwa mike anobvutwa munhu akapiwa mukana wenyu munhu wacho makapa mukana kuti ataure vashaya zvokutaura handiti
If we are to
totedza nekutora mike kana tichiziva
It's okay.
in favor
It's
of the
okay.
youth and in favor of the citizens of Zimbabwe, you just have to be honest. But at the end of the day,
ano hamaike anobvutwa vanhu vakapiwa mukana vakatadza kutaura vanhu vasara vakadaro handiti vamabuda mega makabudirei right kana mune rudo nevanhu mune chido nevanhu makabudirei
this
vakabudirei
debate into an all political thing.
I know,
Listen to me. Listen. No, but those are facts on the table.
it's so
I just
reflecting
gave you facts on the
To
table.
reflect,
I gave you
yeah.
a reference of the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission.
to reflect,
You're not giving me
kunema-
any reference.
Yeah,
I have
kuti-
given you
yeah,
the
kuti
reference
chi-
of the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission
Kuti
report.
I
The Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission is entrusted in overseeing those
But
issues.
Inzoka-
And it said it was said in the report that these hearings were marked by violence.
Aiwa, it
People
wasn't marked
were
by
not given a chance to speak. It was
Hakuna zvakadaro.
very
peaceful
peaceful.
but
I'm
peaceful
giving you a
ne
reference of the Zimbabwe.
zvachizoiwewo manje ndatozonotiza iwo ndizvoitotsvaka bcause zvaikubvisa kuairport inocity sports ndozvowaitsvaka the drama vachiita rishaya kuno ndaishayiwa
akarohwa ndiani hapana munhu akarohwa hapana munhu akarohwa hapana inifeti munhu akatonhongerwa foni yake akadzoserwa kwete ndanza munhu akabirwa foni chinzonzwe no ndatibatsirani
Why should we be lying? Why should we be lying in front of cameras? Yet we are just supposed to give the people
Hatuna
what they
kunyema.
need to
That's
hear.
not situated.
We just need to be honest. Shanya, we just
ngatipana
have to be
nemukana
honest about this issue.
ngatitaurei izvo zvisetu zvanhu zviripo you were there kucity sports
Yes. And I was denied an opportunity to speak and then you say hauna kunyimwa. Because ndakanyimwa mukana wekutaura inini.
Hakuna munhu
Many
akanyimwa.
people were denied.
oya tisaka
Are you
kundudza kuti all the wings angari
Are you
mwamiri
disputing the
all the
Zimbabwe
wings
Human Rights Commission report? The same Human Rights
ina
Commission
ndakuiona
that
ripoti iyo
entrusted.
handina kuiona ripoti iyo
Saka
handiti saka inini I'm not basing on that but inini I don't need any report from anyone handiti because inini I was there I don't need any report from anyone there was no violence things were conducted peacefully but the oppositions vaifana kuopposa bill they just went out takasara ne 100% 100% support of the bill handiti munhu wese angari
Youths that are languishing in prison right now
akasapota
because of
hapana vakaita
languishing in
violence ndo vakaita zveviolence
No.
isusu tikuti chinhu chifanira should be
Let's be
taken
honest.
peaceful
Let's be
handiti
honest.
then
just
vanhu
have to be honest.
obviously munhu aita violence anosungwa because
No.
inzonze
You just have to be
hauti
honest.
munhu ari kutaura haungati munhu ari kutaura ari kuti ini am support of this bill
You just have to be honest.
handiti then mumwe munhu angosungwa ngoti aiwa vanopenga anowatidaro
we just have to be
our
honest.
ZNPF supporters were very peaceful vaita kuti munhu achipiwa pfungwa dzake vaita kuti vainge vakanyarara kuti zii but panoita munhu anondisapota deso vomumisa vanomumisirei vanhu eopposition I was there mcity sports vanhu eopposition vakagara that side ravo rikutuza nekudowo vakabuda vega and it's both vatoona kuti no chinhu chikusapotwa ichi munhu wese ari kusapota saka who am I to I think vakatozobuda vakutosapota mafiu individuals andakabvunza vakabuda vakutosapota kuti isusu chatabudira ndechekuti tanoti ano pfungwa dzedu hadzitorina musoro pfungwa dzedu dziri kudzatosapota ndakabvunza vamwe maoppositions andakatoona vakatosapota even nemamwe magroup leaders one maorganization ndakatovabvunza anowanhu hobho kati ndaudzora kuorganization kwangu ndinowanza kuti no these guys let's support amendment bill number 3 because we've seen kuti pane continuity development nezvinhu zvakawandawanda vakabuda vega there is no violence vanhu vakabuda vega thank you ndombirire maoko